All right, today we're going to discuss U-turns and the easiest way to perform a U-turn. There are several ways you can do a U-turn, several, but this is how I learned, and it's one of the more easier ways to execute a U-turn. First of all, there's several different ways to do all kind of maneuvers, but this seems to be the main question that people have is how to do a U-turn. We're going to get right to it and not waste any time. First thing you want to do, you want to stay in the friction zone and go about anywhere between 7 miles an hour and 10 miles an hour. 7 to 10. If you go any lower than that, when you're trying to perform that U-turn, the bike could possibly fall. So you want to have enough speed so that when you're performing the U-turn, you have enough momentum to get you through that turn. So anywhere between 7 and 10 miles an hour is where you want to be. That's a sweet spot. About 7 to 10 miles an hour with the clutch, but you want to keep your throttle, you want to keep your RPMs a little under 2, anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000, depending on your bike. You want to keep that there, keep it steady. So think about it as cruise control. You set your throttle, get your clutch, and you're in that friction zone, and you want to be about 7 to 10 miles an hour. Set it and forget it. Stay right there. Do not move your hands. Once you're going that speed, you got good speed, good momentum, everything is perfect. And when you come in that U-turn, all you have to do now is rest your foot on the brake. You're not pressing down on it, you're not jabbing at it, you just rest your foot on the brake. By doing that, it kind of stabilizes the bike. It doesn't feel wobbly. So if you just slightly, just sit your foot on it and slightly press it. That's it. That's all you're doing. So you got your cruise control going, 7 to 10 miles an hour. You got your throttle set anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000. You're in the friction zone and you're going about 7 to 10. Cruise control, perfect. When you go to execute that turn, you got your foot on the brake. You just go and just go through the turn. Just swoop through. That's it. Now, to eliminate that falling feeling, a lot of times when you go into those turns, you feel like the bike is going to fall. One of the easiest things to do, sit up on the tank. Get as close as you can to the tank, not be way back here. Sit all the way up on the tank and put your outside shoulder to your out mirror, to your mirror. So you're going to be counter leaning. So if I'm making a U-turn this way to the left, I'm going to sit my body up and to the right. And you don't have to do this, but it helps to eliminate that falling feeling. You can go through that U-turn without doing it, but you may feel like you're falling because you're kind of leaning with it, or you're trying to stay up and the bike is falling. If I sit on the opposite side of the bike as I'm making that turn, I don't get that falling feeling. And now I just have my cruise control set, 7 to 10 miles an hour, turn, I'm leaning, and that's it. If I have my foot on that brake, it just kind of smooths it out. It's not wobbly as I'm going through. And that's it. That is the easiest way to do it. Now some people do a momentum turn where they get a bunch of speed going and don't do anything, just coast, pulling the clutch, and they coast through that turn. You can do that too. But if you're at a red light and you need to go and you don't have enough room to get that speed up to start coasting, that doesn't really work. So you want to get going about 7, 10 miles an hour, set that, rest your foot on the brake. You're not stabbing at it, just kind of resting. A slight drag. You're dragging the brake slightly. And that's it. As you're in the turn, if you're counter leaning, you won't feel like you're falling. You just turn those handlebars and you will feel normal. You won't feel like you're falling. Now, if you decide, if you're going in there and you feel like you're about to fall, even if that does happen, all you have to do, because you have your RPMs up with the throttle, just open the clutch a little bit, just like this. That's it. So if you're going in and you feel like you're starting to lean a little too much, open your left hand. Because you already have the throttle up, you open that left hand, it's going to stand it up. Because you already have that power in reserve. This is the easiest way. This is how I learned. And for the longest, I was screwing up. I was dropping the bike. I was afraid. Once I learned to sit up on the tank, up and to the opposite side, that eliminated that falling feeling. I don't feel like I'm falling even when I'm leaning the bike. Because what you're actually doing is you're turning the bike and you're leaning it under you. You're kind of pushing the bike under you. So when you're making those turns, you're really turning and putting it, you're on the opposite side, so you're pushing the bike under you. That's really what you're doing. So you turn the handlebars, push it under you, you're on the opposite side. So now you're sitting up while the bike is diagonal. As long as you're sitting up, your brain doesn't think you're falling. Now, if you're not sitting straight up and you're leaning with it, your brain may tell you, oh my gosh, I'm falling, stick my foot out. You don't want to stick your foot out. That's very dangerous. Because when you stick your foot out, if your foot gets caught in a saddlebag and your back falls on you, it's going to fall on your ankle. And I think I have a video to show that happening. I can cut to it.
I've got a blowout. Neighbor 3. Engine
But that's all it is. That's the easiest way to do it. That's how I learned it. And a lot of this is different YouTubers. I think it's Joey Palladino, I think his name is, Robert Simmons, Motor Jitsu. There's so many different people doing it. There's several ways to do it. But if you're a beginner and you're in traffic and you want to be able to make a U-turn, that's the easiest way. 17 miles an hour, leave it. When you're in the turn, you don't want to be doing this. You don't want to be messing with the throttle, messing with your clutch. You already got enough speed, you're good. You just turn it. You just use your brake, you just drag that brake. It'll go right through. If you stab at that brake, you're going to stop your speed, you're going to fall. Because you need enough speed to keep you through that turn. If you start stabbing at the brake and trying to go too slow, the bike doesn't have enough momentum to stay up. 7 to 10 miles an hour. Turn the handlebars. Sit on the opposite side. That's it. That's all it is. All right. Also, one thing I forgot to say, you want to look over your shoulder. Look over your left shoulder and look through the U-turn. Because the further you look, your handlebars are going to turn. The bike is going to go where you look. So turn, look over your shoulder, and the bike will go in that direction. The further you look, the tighter that turn will be. Right here at the beginning of the U-turn, I'm counterleaning. I'm getting ready. You see my upper body is all the way to the right. My chest is pretty much facing my rearview mirror to the right. So I'm counterleaning and I'm dipping the bike and turning the handlebars. So if you counterlean, I don't feel like I'm falling. Also on my approach, I get my 7 to 10 miles an hour on my approach, so I'm good to go. And once I get between 7 to 10, I start to counterlean and I go. I'm also sitting up in the saddle. I'm sitting up on my tank. I'm not leaning back on my backrest. I'm sitting up and counter leaning. I'm sitting up on the tank. Also, if you look here, I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm not looking in the direction the bike is going. The bike is facing to the left. I'm looking over my shoulder through the turn. I'm actually looking at one of the cones at the end of the U-turn. I'm looking through the U-turn. So I'm not looking in the direction of the bike, but I'm looking in the direction of where I want to go. Now, as I come out the turn, look at the lean of the bike. The bike is leaning. Now, I'm still counter leaning, not as much, but you see how the bike, look at the front tire, the bike is leaning and I'm turning it. Look at my foot, it's almost touching the ground. But I feel perfectly normal. I don't feel like I'm falling because I'm sitting straight up and my head is straight up. If I was kind of tilting my head into the turn, then I would probably feel like I was falling. But because I'm keeping my torso up, look how far the bike is leaning and I feel perfectly normal. I don't feel like I'm falling. Again, I'm sitting up on the tank and I'm not leaning back on my backrest. I'm sitting up. Example 2, same thing. 7, 10 miles an hour, start counter leaning, dip, look over my shoulder, ride through. If you notice when I'm doing those turns, those weren't even perfect. I was kind of trying to show, I'm just doing like almost a lazy turn. I don't even have to turn the bike a whole lot. It's like a lazy turn. I'm just barely turning it. I'm just sitting on the opposite side of the bike. Just sitting on the opposite side. And if you look, I'm not doing anything with my hands. My hands are frozen. I'm at 7, 10 miles an hour. I'm not doing anything with the throttle, anything with the clutch. It's like cruise control. I just leave it and I just ride the brake. And that's it. And I just sweep on through. And if I feel like at all, like, oh, I'm kind of going a little slow, like on one of those turns I was going a little slow, I just open my hand just a tad. Give it a little bit more power because I'm keeping the throttle anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000. I'm keeping it there. And so I have reserve power. So if I'm going in, I feel like I'm leaning a little too much, I just open my hand a little bit, just a little bit. It'll lift it back up. That's simple. That's one of the easiest ways to do it. But again, I recommend before you even start these U-turns to just learn how to control your bike going about 5 miles an hour, and just learning how to slow creep, how to be in the friction zone, how to understand clutch control. So you want to learn how to be able to start and stop. Do that every like 10 feet. Start and stop. Start and stop. Practice that. Then practice just going slow, like 5 miles an hour. Just practice that, living in that friction zone. Because then you'll get comfortable with that friction zone and you start to learn your bike even better. Because when you're doing these maneuvers, staying in the friction zone makes everything smoother. You can do some of these things without doing that. You can do some of these things without the clutch, but it's rougher, like it's not as smooth. And using that clutch, it just smooths everything out. You're in that friction zone. If you don't have that clutch going and you just have the throttle, if you adjust that throttle in first gear, it's going to be herky-jerky. So, there are different ways you can do it. All right, and that's getting to me.